This episode of the Cult Popture podcast was brought to you by our Patreon. If you want to tell us which films we should watch, get up to 2 extra exclusive podcasts a month, give us something to talk about in the post-credit scene at the end of each episode, or join us for our monthly movie club Zoom call where we discuss a film together, then please consider joining the cult and donating at www.patreon.com/cultpopture.
We've just been having a bloody little chinwag off pod, which maybe would have been good to start recording earlier. Richard was recording for the past couple of minutes and I wasn't. But I will say, before that felt like was also podcast material that we were just having a chat with. Hey everyone, I'm AJ.
And I'm Richard.
to the Cult Popture podcast.
And we're joined again today by...
Aaron.
Yeah.
Aaron, who we get on to talk to about the Oscars, and we didn't say this last week or last fortnight, but it's because he's an actor, and that's
not why. He's also our friend.
Yeah,
yeah, I know, but like we, for anyone who does, I assume when people discover the podcast, they don't go back and listen to the 2018 Oscar roundup. Like some episodes don't have a long shelf life compared to others. And so if anyone's wondering who this guy is, it's our actor friend Aaron.
he's the one actor that they know,
Yeah.
who's also a friend.
Do you consider yourself, do you identify more as an actor or my friend?
Honestly, probably more your friend, to be
Wow.
honest.
Aw.
And people have paid me to act.
Wow.
So there you go.
Not as much as I pay to be my friend.
So this is the 2021 Oscars cheat sheet part 2. What this is, if you haven't heard the last part, which I recommend you go back and listen to, today we're going to be discussing the 4 films nominated for Best Picture that we didn't discuss last fortnight, and we're going to talk about them and what we thought of them, for the express purpose for if you, the listener, don't have time to watch 8 movies.
Yeah.
We're giving you the opinions so you can go to your dinner parties and be like, oh, Sound of Metal should win Best Picture but won't. You know, like we're giving you these opinionated sound bites without you having to watch the movie.
And then once we've gone through the 4 movies as well, we'll kind of go through a run through of some or all of the categories. And just so you know, if you're at your Oscar party, you can be like, yeah, so and so's got this in the bag.
Yeah.
Essentially, this is we're doing the homework for you.
The award for best documentary short film comes up, and so you're just like, yeah, I know what this is, and no one cares.
I actually have an interesting fact about the documentary short subject category.
Wow.
There's a documentary in that called Colette, which I'm not sure what its chances to win are, but it was included with Medal of Honor, the latest Medal of Honor game, and it's the first time that a video game studio has received an Oscar nomination.
What the heck?
Yeah.
Was it? Oh, so it's a documentary, so it has to be like live action. I was going to say it was animated, but...
Yeah, no, it's like a... yeah, crazy.
Well, imagine if I'd randomly picked a different lesser Oscar award. We wouldn't have got that fun anecdote.
Yeah, well, I was saving it for when we go through at the end. But so the 4 movies that we've got to talk to about today, The Father, Promising Young Woman, Nomadland, and Judas and the Black Messiah. That last one is one film title. It's not 2 films one called Judas, one called The Black Messiah. And then, of course, last week we talked about Minari, Mank, Sound of Metal, and Trial of the Chicago 7. So what we did last week was we went through the movies in order of how we feel about them, which I feel like was very easy last week, but I'm finding it a lot harder this week. So what we do is we'll go on the count of 3 and we'll all name our least favorite out of the 4. That doesn't mean it's bad by any stretch, but just if you were to rank them 1 to 4, which one would come forth?
And should also be said that this is a separate ranking from the last 4. So it's not like the last 4 were the bottom 4 and this is the top 4 either. So me and Richard, have you ranked them on Letterboxd? On my Letterboxd, I've ranked my least favorite to favorite Oscar,
of the Oscar
Best
nominees.
Picture
I haven't done that. But yeah, I know. I find these ones very hard to rank because they're also different. But let's should we go countdown?
All right.
Oh god.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. The
Father.
Nomadland?
Do we all say the father?
I reckon the father. I was tossing up between the father and Nomadland.
I said the
was
father.
I.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so the father. This tells the story of Anthony, who is an elderly man played by Anthony Hopkins, and his daughter played by Olivia Coleman, and she's taking care of him, kind of thing. He's moved into her flat, but the way the story's told, it's kind of like we're given his perspective a little bit, and there's a lot of like the production design changes throughout, and actors will swap out the same character, kind of thing, and it's sort of showcasing that. It's written and directed by Florian Zeller. It's his directorial debut, but this is based on a play he wrote, and so this is an adaptation of his play. I think the original play was in French.
So we talked on the last episode of Cheat Sheet about how this was the one I was the least excited to see. And I think you guys were in somewhat agreement that it was like the old person movie that got nominated this year. And I was telling my flatmate about this movie called The Father, and he was like, "Oh, my dad saw that." And I was like, "Oh, of course your dad saw it." And then he was like, "He said it was like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind," and I was like, "What? No, it's not."
Your dad wasn't supposed to be a cinephile.
and then I watched it, and look, yeah, it has shades of Eternal Sunshine, or I'm thinking of ending things in it. I would say the main differentiator is that in this movie, it's not hidden the reason why it's told in such a unique and confusing at times way. It's basically, this whole movie is basically built to simulate the experience of Alzheimer's or dementia. Yeah, so it's someone who's, you experience the whole film from, most of the film from their perspective. I'd say 90% of the film is from Anthony's perspective. And as you say, Richard, actors change, names change, people change, to the point where like, you are on the film is designed so that you identify with the person who's losing their mind and memory.
Yeah, I would say yes, but also your sympathies sort of change between the different characters, based on like, because Anthony Hopkins' performance is kind of like, he's like this charming old guy, but he's also like an asshole, grumpy grouch. So like, yeah, I guess your perspective changes in terms of who you sympathize with, because sometimes it's like, oh man, Olivia Coleman's just trying to do right by her father, but then other times it's like, the partner slapped Anthony Hopkins in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, because this film, like we kind of said that it's like, the one you have to watch, and it's very clear why it's nominated, because it's like this Anthony Hopkins, one of the greatest actors of all time, giving potentially one of, if not his best performance of all time.
Yeah, and isn't that a crazy statement to make about a movie I didn't want to see? Like, The Silence of the Lambs as Anthony Hopkins gives his best performance in this old person movie that I went to see at one of those boutique cinemas and was
the youngest person by about 60 years.
And
yeah, exactly.
may or may not have been there by myself.
Yeah, I was.
Same. I went to it by myself.
No. And then
I saw the trailers leading up to The Father playing. I was just like, what the fuck is this movie? There's like a Benedict Cumberbatch like Cold War thriller coming out, and I was like, this is a Benedict Cumberbatch movie. This should be known the world over, but I'm finding out it exists because of a trailer and an old person movie.
That is a little bit on you, I think.
Oh, okay. I thought we were collectively dunking on old people together. But
no,
fine.
we were, but I also know about The Courier.
Yeah, but I think
I forgot it was called that.
I feel like we saw that trailer in another old person.
When we saw Minari?
Yeah, when we saw Minari.
Yeah, we did.
So I don't know if it counts. Oh, you don't know about it? Even though.
And also, so on top of Anthony Hopkins giving this, career best performance, you've also got Olivia Coleman coming reasonably fresh off an Oscar win for The Favourite. And she's now, gone from one of these comedic actresses that pop up in Peep Show and Mitchell and Webb, to now, like, as one of those actresses that's like, oh, if they're in it, cool, it's going to be an Oscar contender.
To being Meryl Streep.
Yeah, essentially.
2.0.
Although she wasn't nominated, was she?
No, she is.
Oh, she is.
Yeah, she's nominated for supporting actress though.
Oh, nice.
So as our resident actor and friend,
More friend than actor. So.
No, you had to say actor first, or else I would have thought he was talking about me.
What did you think of the performances in this movie, Ed?
They were fantastic. Yeah. Anthony Hopkins was. Yeah, it's interesting because like you can kind of tell at times, and I would say not just at times, a lot of the time, that this movie is based on a play.
Yes.
And in some ways, his like performance, and I guess that's like the nature of the text as well, is quite kind of theatrical.
Yeah.
Like I guess I'm talking about, we talked last week about there's like those Oscar scenes or those like Oscar moments where Anthony Hopkins is like, "You're not taking away my flight.
I'm not leaving my flat.
Yeah, that's right. And he says it like twice, and you're like,
That says you can't reason with a tiger when your head it's in his mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the whole movie. That's every line of dialogue.
Yeah. And I guess also kind of the nature of the fact that like his performance kind of swings from wild extremes to, like I was saying, like him being charming to him being like rude or like cutting or, just kind of lost. So I guess the nature of that is pretty theatrical as well, but it's also an opportunity to show like a huge range, but it also feels like grounded and also kind of real, which is what I would say about most of the performances is like the impressiveness of the other performances aren't their like virtuosity. It's like they're just really, really, really grounded. Yeah. And really like just they seem really truthful.
Yeah, that's the thing about Olivia Coleman is she's like the glue that holds the things together. Even like Imogen Poots does a good job. I mean, imagine how fucking terrifying that would be acting against Anthony Hopkins as the new caregiver.
Yeah, she was fantastic.
Yeah, and also like Mark Gatiss, who I've never thought of that strong as an actor from his work on Sherlock. Like he plays the part well because he's one of the actors that is then subbed in for a different character, and it's like because he's revealed at the end to be like, oh, the Mark Gatiss character is a nice guy the whole time, but sometimes you see his face on the arsehole character, and he still has that charm about him, and it's like it's very well done.
And like to like, I think this film, it was nominated for Best Picture for more than just the performances, obviously, and I think it's all intrinsically tied together. So like experimentally, it's a very, very interesting film. It might be, surprisingly, the Old Person movie is the most interesting film of the lineup, in a lot of ways, like in terms of the filmmaking. And I just really appreciated being taken on that ride to like to experience the mind of a person. And it's cool that at the end of the film when he's in a retirement home, you see the faces of the doctors and nurses looking after him, and it's like those are the actors. That is Mark Gatiss, as you say, Richard, is one of the doctors, I think. And you go, he's been, potentially the whole movie has been him remembering everything from his hospital or his retirement home bed, and all these people in his life fade in and out with different faces because they're people he hasn't met yet. It's very experimental. It's something that I think would be so cool to see as a play, but as a movie, it also translates very well to be able to play with the conventions of filmmaking, in a really experimental way. And so I was very, very impressed with this film. Not quite to bump it to the top of this week's top 4, but very impressed with it.
Yeah, if you're talking to your friends, you're at your Oscar party, and someone asks if you saw The Father, and they haven't seen it, if they've seen it, you don't want to fucking. But if they haven't, and you could say that you have, you would say it's quite surprising how experimental it is, and what it does with the perspective of Anthony Hopkins' character. Any final thoughts on The Father?
My one criticism of it is I don't know what it's saying to me. It's like a showcase of an experience, but it doesn't. I feel like the plot doesn't have many narrative twists and turns, and I don't know what the point is by the end. But other than that,
I'm interested by that narrative point you bring up, because there's so many interesting things going on within the narrative, because eventually it kind of does all tie together, and that you make sense of who's why he's seeing these people as other people. But then there's also like within the narrative, there's really interesting kind of twists and turns. Like probably the thing that sticks out the most is there's like a scene in about the middle of the film where you get basically the tail end of an argument between Olivia Coleman's character and her partner about like putting him in a home. And then it cuts to them and they're like, Dad, why are you outside? And then it cuts to them like having dinner together. But then the scene plays out and basically it kind of loops back around. And then the end of that scene is them having the argument about their father. Like it's kind of, there are these really interesting kind of loops and it kind of, I think that's how it describes the feeling of what it feels like to have dementia.
If you pay attention as well to like what like Olivia Coleman's character is wearing as well, it's like we essentially only see her in like 2 or 3 outfits throughout the whole thing. Even though like if you were to watch and be like, okay, this scene, then this is the next day, and then this is the next day, probably it looks like it takes place over a couple of weeks with a time jump at the end. But we're actually kind of only seeing like 2, maybe 3 days. Or memories from only a couple of days scattered in a random order. And I thought that was really interesting. There's a lot of like really interesting clues in the film like that. But I will say, are you guys excited for the sequel?
What?
Yeah, they're making a sequel to The Father. It's called The Son, and I'm not joking.
Are you serious?
Yeah, Florian Zeller had a play which was a follow-up to The Father, but I think a follow-up in the sense of like it's a spiritual kind of thing. But yeah, it's called The Son. He's adapting it into a film. It is about 2 parents. So a father who's got a busy life with his new partner and a baby. It's thrown into disarray when his ex-wife turns up with their teenage son, Nicholas. The young man is troubled, distant, and angry, playing truant from school for months. He strives to be a better father, searching to help his son with those intimate and instinctive moments of family happiness, but the weight of Nicholas's condition sets the family on a dangerous course. Hugh Jackman has been cast as the father, and Laura Dern has been cast as the ex-wife, and presumably Timothée Chalamet is going to be cast as the son at any moment.
Literally,
we can only assume.
Yeah, if not Lucas Hedges, like
yeah. Or who was the guy who was in 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri?
Caleb Landry Jones.
Yeah. That doesn't really sound like a sequel, to be honest. But I think
it's
more like
a follow-up is the correct.
Yeah.
But anyway, interesting. The Son. Look for that in cinemas maybe in like 2 years. So that is The Father. Right. Next least favorite.
Okay.
I think Aaron and I have already given our game away what we're going to say, but all right. 3, 2, 1. Nomadland.
Judas and the Black Messiah. All right. Nomadland wins. All right.
Yeah.
Wins. Losers.
This is second to last is definitely a win.
I almost feel like as well, like talking about the ranking that you said, this isn't like these are the better 4. Last week was the worst 4. Like, I don't know about you guys. Sound of Metal is still my absolute favorite.
Yeah,
by quite a bit.
Yeah.
Mank is the absolute worst by quite a bit.
Yes. Yeah,
and then everything kind of all these 4 for me kind of all fit around Minari, kind of like.
Yeah, you mean that's just Minari's the center point?
Yeah,
that.
They're kind of within like 0.1% around the same as Minari.
I won't reveal my complete ranking yet, but I can pull up my ranking to be able to be like, well, I think this, because I think there is more of a, personally anyway, I mean, it's all personal, isn't it? Like, I have a more subjective, I have a more clear ranking in my head of the movies.
Right,
anyway.
yeah. See, like I could easily put these 4 in a different order, but Nomadland, this is the clear front runner. It's written, directed, and edited by Chloe Zhao, who made a film called The Rider a couple of years ago, and she's directing Eternals, the Marvel film that comes out at the end of this year. So yeah, she. How did she do, guys?
So what's this movie about?
Yeah.
It's
do you want to say that?
It's about it's sort of like an examination of like nomad culture in 2011. 2011 to 2013, I think the timeline of the film is. It follows Fern, played by Frances McDormand, who is one of these nomad, lives in her vans, drives around the country working, small job to small job. What are they called? Fixed contract jobs.
Gig economy.
Right. Oh, okay. Right. And the subtext is she is dealing with the grief of the loss of her husband. And that's about as much legitimately.
Yeah, it's based
beyond
around
telling you what happens in
yeah.
bullet points.
It's
that's
based
what
around
movie is.
the true story of like this plant in a place called Empire in Nevada, which shut down, and it was one of these towns that was built around a factory. It was just built so that people had a place to live that could work there. And when the factory shut down, within a few months, years, whatever, the postcode for that town was gone. The town was completely abandoned. And she lived there with her husband. He passed away, and now she's kind of without a home. And so it's based on a book, but I think it's like the book is like a non-fiction. Yeah. And it's like it's almost a documentary. So pretty much everyone except for Frances McDormand and a guy called Dave, who appears kind of midway to later in the film, who's played by David Strathairn. They're like the only actors in the film. Everyone else are like
really
legitimate nomads.
Yeah. Mind blown. I had no idea. That makes so much sense, though.
Yeah, because the whole film is just a series of vignettes, essentially. It's just... And
wait,
and that's
even the guy who talks about his dead son is a real nomad?
Yep.
Oh, that's so sad.
I would argue the best performance of the year is Swanky's monologue about her cancer diagnosis, and she's a real person. That was oh my god, it blew me away.
She actually is she did now?
I don't think so. I don't even know if she has cancer.
Oh, okay, so that part's not necessarily real.
Yeah, I don't think all of the events of the film are necessarily real.
Okay, I'm sorry. I need to dial back. I need to calm down.
But yeah, Bob Wells.
I've
completely had this movie recontextualized, and I'm like, what
Francis,
the fuck?
We're gonna need you to go undercover as a nomad.
Oh yeah,
be one with these people.
Yeah. But yeah, like Bob Wells, who's the one you mentioned that talks about his dead son in the film, he's like the kind of the guy that he's like the messiah of van dwelling. And yeah, he's a real guy. He's a YouTube personality who advertises this. That's all real. I'm not sure about the dead son, but that feels like it's weird. Did Chloe Zhao write this being like, oh, I know these people's stories, or was it like workshopped, or was it like, oh, I've written this devastating monologue, you have it.
You can have a dead son.
Yeah.
Because the acting's so genuine and good, and it's a little hard to believe that someone as like on the outskirts of society as nomads would be able to pull off performances like that. Like, if you guys ever filmed something with non-actors before, it can be pretty hard going.
Yeah, we did it today.
Hey, I've got a theory. Got a theory, guys. I reckon in 20 years, this era of film is going to be defined by movies that are like kind of about nothing, like surface level, nothing happens in them. Not about nothing. It's the opposite, actually. They're about something,
but nothing happens.
Nothing happens. Because I mean, this, and I would put Minari somewhat in this category as well. Like. And for this to be the Oscar frontrunner, I thought was very interesting, because I wasn't blown away by Nomadland, and I think part of that is because for 6 weeks it's been built up to me as like, this is going to win Best Picture.
That's the thing, and for me as well, I saw it 6 weeks ago, and so I watched almost all of the Best Picture nominees since then, and so I had like, okay, I went into Nomadland knowing, okay, this is the best one. And so I watched that, and then it was like expecting all the other ones to be not as good. That toyed my expectations a little bit. Yeah.
Were you worried, having watched it, that like every other movie would be kind of crap this year? Because you're like, it was pretty good, I guess.
Not a lot came out as well. Like
Roma is another Oscar frontrunner that I'd put in this category of movies where like the stuff happening in the background of the movie is all the movie's about, but it is happening in the background of the movie, and in the foreground it's seemingly plotless, it's seemingly meandering, because like, especially in Nomadland, man, it's like, if you like, at least Roma, she gets pregnant, you know, and Minari, their barn burns down. Like in this, it's like a background character dies. I
think because the thing about this film is that like it's a film that just meanders from scene to scene, and what's it about? It's a character that meanders from place to place.
Yeah, in many ways, the like narrative structure of the thing is like what it's about.
Yeah, it's motivated within the story.
Yeah, and also like the it's kind of, there are these layers of like it trying to be true to life and accurately representing the life of these people. So like, you know, one of the techniques that I think film kind of does in order to achieve that, right, is to like kind of take plot away and then just make the film kind of basically episodic in the way that life is not like kind of a neat narrative tied up in an hour and a half. I thought, I 100% agree with everything you guys have been saying. It's like, it's beautifully shot and will potentially win like best cinematography. But it also feels like a movie I've seen before. Just like the style of it is very kind of indie, gritty
or is it
realism.
the culmination of several films you've seen before?
Yeah.
Like this is the purest distilled version of the Nothing Happens movie. You know? Like if this wins Best Picture, that's that genre like crescendoing, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess that's what I was talking about before we came on air. Like, you know, it feels like the sort of movie that in 2015 people would have been like, this should win. Why isn't it going to win?
It's
and
like Boyhood kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. But then,
You're totally
5
right.
years later, they're like, oh, yeah, we really liked this form of cinema as well.
It's like what Parasite did for foreign films last year.
Yeah. So if next time you see a film get snubbed at the Oscars, just know that in 3 to 5 years it'll win a film very much like it.
A slightly less good version will win.
But yeah, like I don't have anything negative to say about Nomadland.
No,
I'll say that.
Of course not.
For some reason, it didn't quite. I loved this movie, but I liked other ones more than it.
Yeah.
If you were to assign a single word to how this movie made you feel, I'm interested to hear that. If you guys have, do you have a single word or mood that this made you feel?
Wanderlust.
Ooh. He's just saying that because it's basically about wanderlust.
Yeah,
I don't know, like I think this is the thing about it, is like I didn't finish the movie and I didn't feel a huge amount. I was like, oh man, it's a pretty sad life and modern life's a bit shit.
Yeah.
But then I kind of went on with my day, you know?
Yeah.
The word I'd use would be peaceful. I felt very peaceful.
Yeah, there's because she does return to the abandoned town of Empire at the end, and there's a feeling of closure I think she gets, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, that you're able to feel that contentness at the end of the film.
So there's a scene where she's walking along like cliffs over an ocean, and the sound design is immaculate, and like it's a very atmospheric film. It's almost entirely atmosphere, and it's like for those for everyone else out there like me who falls asleep listening to 10 hours of rain sounds, like this is the movie.
You have to wait for the 10 hours to finish, and then you fall asleep.
So if you ever think that rain sounds is snubbed for an Oscar.
Best original score, AJ's life.
This is Falling Asleep to the Rain, the movie. That's my opinion.
I get it, man. It's one thing interesting about my experience with this film as well. So I hadn't seen a single trailer or like frame from the film. So the 2 frames I'd seen from the film, one is the poster, and the other one is like a shot where she's looking over her shoulder, and that was like
I've seen same
everything. So and I didn't see any trailers, anything like that. And I went to one of the more kind of boutique cinemas, and it was like Jess and I were sitting there waiting for the movie to open, and then there was a guy and a girl working. The guy was very clearly trying to impress the girl.
Yes.
But they were talking about, he was like, oh, have you seen Nomadland? And she's like, no. And then she's like, it's got Frances McDormand, eh? And they were like, yeah. And they were kind of saying like, yeah, I kind of like her. And one of them's like, yeah, she's good, but I feel like she plays the same character and everything. And I was like, what an interesting thing to say. Because, I mean, like, in more recent years, I could see that, but like, and I was like, okay, going to Nomadland, this shot, the poster for the film, she's got like, you know, her underwear hanging on a line, and she's sitting there slouched in a chair and she's smoking, and I was like, oh, she's gonna be some fucking, I didn't know what the film was about, anything, some hard bitch that like kind of just goes, yeah, I lost my husband, like. And then the film starts.
Stinking garlic.
Yeah. Exactly what I thought the character was going to be. And then the film starts and she's like, you know, eating a peanut butter and banana sandwich, and she's like very politely nodding along and listening to everything, and she's like, you know, it's like almost like a little bit on the spectrum kind of thing. And it's a very different performance for her, I thought. Yeah. And it's like, and there's like a naivete about her, whereas I was expecting this fucking hard bitch that's seen the world, but no, it's the complete opposite of that. Yeah. And I was like, how can you say she always plays the same character?
I guess it's that thing though, if you've seen her in enough stuff, you can kind of see what her mannerisms are and like her kind of vocal quality and all that stuff, and you're like, oh, it's just the same person. But yeah, of course it's the same person. There's only a limit. It
physically is the same person.
Yeah. There's a limit to which she can actually transform herself from herself, you know?
Yeah. No, I had a similar experience, Richard. I'd seen very little. I think I'd read a sentence-long plot synopsis as well, and I'd seen the 2 shots you described, and it's like, I was not expecting her to be such a kind and sort of pleasant person in this movie. And like, yeah, it's weird. I can also understand saying that she plays the same role in every movie, but you think about her in 3 Billboards, where she's like this callous, grief-stricken woman. You think about her in Fargo, where she's like this very naive.
Yeah, like literally her 2 Oscar-winning roles could not be more different.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
She's a incredible actress though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all we had to say. Yeah, so Nomadland is the front runner for Best Director and Best Picture. It's almost a lock. If you're a betting person, throw as much money as you want at it. Okay, so
get back
next,
how much?
Huh?
And you'll get back how much?
Let's have a look at our.
Was it $1.09? It's betting or something.
So for Best Picture, it's $1.15. For Best Director, it's $1.05.
Oh damn!
Yeah. So very, very low odds.
For this next countdown, do I say what I think is the next movie we should talk about, or do I keep with my ranking?
The next movie we should talk about, like, so now Nomadland and The Father have been removed, so now it's just how you rank the last 2.
Okay.
What do we got left?
We only got 2 left.
Promising Young Woman and Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yeah, I think I
know. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Judas and the Black Messiah. All right.
We all said the same one. Okay, yeah.
I thought Nomadland was better, but I don't know if that was clear from my...
Yeah, I think you made that very clear, AJ.
Thank you, AJ.
This is a really interesting... This is one I'd been wanting to see for quite a long time. If you haven't seen the trailer for this film, like, I don't normally watch many trailers, but the trailer for this one is like a fucking work of art.
Yeah, get you hyped for a movie.
So this is directed by Shaka King, who was a student of Spike Lee, who then, is now the long list of like directors who have been recognized over Spike Lee in a year.
That The Five Bloods isn't. I'm kind of pleased to see that not nominated. So I don't think it's as discuss good as it again. Say. It really cooled on me when I first saw it last year. It was like, just through the virtue of when it came out, it was like kind of best movie of the year.
Well, this is one of 2 new movies that has come out. So.
yeah, exactly.
Like, it's better than Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, I've got a lot of problems with The Five Bloods, but anyway, we're not here to talk about
that. So this tells the story of Fred Hampton, who was the chairman of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party. And he's played by Daniel Kaluuya, and then it's told through the story of like through the lens of the FBI, which is like a really interesting way to tell the story and problematic in some ways. But the FBI informant who leads to the taking down of Fred Hampton is played by Lakeith Stanfield. And they're both nominated for Oscars. They're both nominated for supporting actor. In one of those kind of weird Oscar shuffling things around, so they're not competing against certain people and whatnot. But Lakeith Stanfield is since the since their inception, he's the first acting nominee to not receive a single other major acting nomination in the entire award season.
Wow.
This was his first nomination.
Whoa.
For this film. Which is, and like, I think he posted a thing being like, what the fuck, when he got nominated. But yeah, so this stars then. It also stars Jesse Plemons as the kind of FBI guy that Lakeith Stanfield reports to.
Dead-eyed FBI guy.
Yeah. And then you've also got Martin Sheen as Jade Gahuva.
Yeah.
Who's the director of the FBI. And also the interesting thing about this in the Oscar season, this is a Dunkirk. What was the Gary Oldman film called?
Darkest Hour situation.
Situation where these two films are happening at the same time, and they actually reference each other. Spoilers for Judas and the Black Messiah. It's about the assassination of Fred Hampton. Like, that's just unavoidable.
Yeah.
That's
well,
what
even more on the nose than that. There's a scene where J. Edgar Hoover is showing the other FBI agent some documents, and he shows a court drawing of
Bobby Seale.
Bobby Seale tied up in court, and he's like, "It must be very cold over in that Chicago courtroom," which is such a specifically designed line. It feels almost like it's really being like, because Trial of the Chicago 7 is also
Go watch
nominated.
the other one. But then also in Trial of the Chicago 7, this isn't quite happen in real life, but when Bobby Seale is allowed to stop being bound and gagged, or maybe that's what sets it off, it's because of the death of Fred Hampton. It's referenced in Trial of the Chicago 7, but that is one of the things where they messed with the timeline to fit their story a little bit more. But yeah, what'd you guys think of it?
The most mind-blowing thing about Judas and the Black Messiah was the little caption at the end, which revealed to me that Fred Hampton was 21 years old at the time of his assassination. That's what I've taken away from the movie, sadly. Is I was like, because not only is Daniel Kaluuya clearly in his early to mid-30s as well, but also like a 21-year-old is this like, the target of
figure. The FBI.
But it really does bring
have
home.
You met a 21-year-old? Like, what are you wasting your time on 21-year-olds for? And so
I think the film makes it pretty clear that he was like quite influential. But yeah, that is the most mind-blowing thing.
Sure. I should rephrase. What I'm saying is, I'm flabbergasted a 21-year-old could be so much better at doing things for the world than I am at 27. So it's more what I'm very humbled by it.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, Daniel Kaluuya playing a 21-year-old was not the most egregious example of someone too old playing someone of a different age in the Oscar movies. It was so distracting to me when I was watching Promising Young Woman. I was like, she is so much older than her character is supposed to be. Anyway, sorry. Moving back.
Florence Pugh plays at one point in Little Woman, played like a 13-year-old, I think.
Yeah, so this is, in terms of what this is likely to win, Daniel Kaluuya essentially a lock for Best Supporting Actor. He's won several other ones, and I was watching an old episode of That Mitchell and Webb Look, and it had Olivia Coleman as a prominent player, but then Daniel Kaluuya showed up as well, and I was like, this is, in a couple of weeks, this will have 2 Oscar winners in it.
Oh my god.
Come on, David Mitchell. Step up your game.
Bring it home. This movie was amazing. To me, it really stuck with me. I feel like it was as powerful as what's the Netflix one, The Trial of the Chicago 7. Yeah, I feel like this movie to me was as powerful as that movie wanted to be.
Yeah.
Trial of the Chicago 7 was kind of like a sanitized, justice and people's rights.
This is Chicago 7's more of a Hollywood film.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like, the world's fucked up.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this, but the US government assassinated a black man,
a 21-year-old
African-American man, because he was trying to do good for his community.
Socialism.
And then also, there was obviously a militant element to the Black Panthers that can't be ignored. But that was wild to me. And really just, it stuck with me in a way that the Trial of the Chicago 7 really didn't. It was just like...
That's interesting,
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of those films though that like when I saw that trailer, because I just heard, it's got a cool trailer, so I was like, I'll watch it, and then it's like oh shit, Daniel Kaluuya. Oh shit, Lakeith. Oh, Jesse Plemons. Like, it's like 3 actors that are like, I'll fucking watch them in anything now. Like, you know, these kind of actors that it's like, if they're taking a role in it, you know, it's fucking good.
Yeah.
And the performance of Daniel Kaluuya is amazing, especially because they have like archival footage of the actual Fred Hampton at the end of the movie, and you're like, man, that sort of strange accent that he's been putting on the whole time was literally just Fred Hampton's way of speaking, and it was like, man,
oh my god, Daniel Kaluuya's like British, and I know you guys would know that, but like the accent in this feels like an accent you can only do if you have it, you know, and it is shocking to see how good he is at it. I somewhat disagree with you, Aaron.
Oh, lay it on me then.
First of all, this is a 4 out of 5 star movie for me, right? So like everything I say from this next point on should be under the umbrella of, I mean, it's a 4 out of 5 star movie. However, I think that I found it a little unfocused in parts. I think I found it. Here's ultimately what I think is wrong is, and I'm glad that Spike Lee is tangentially tied to this movie, so it doesn't sound like I'm lumping in all black directors with films about civil rights movements.
It's just too unrealistic. This would never happen.
No, actually, kind of the opposite. I was ready for this year's Black Klansman, and stylistically, it's a lot less rich than Black Klansman. Stylistically, it's sort of very grounded and very just shows you what happens, whereas, like, I think I was expecting, for the lack of a better word, something maybe a little more quirkily presented, maybe a little more Spike Lee-esque. I don't know why I thought that. I did see the trailer as well, but it was a while ago, and this felt like the most by the books movie of this bunch in a lot of ways, because it is just a biopic to me, I guess. It was the events as they happened. There's nothing wrong with that. I think I just prefer a little more flair in my films, I guess. But I mean, that's where it loses a star, where it gains other stars for me. And it is before watching it, me and my flatmate were talking about how Hollywood the Black Panther's going to be represented, because, you know, Hollywood tends to shy away from promoting things like communism and socialism. So is it actually going is it actually going to honor that? And boy, did it. Like, it is, you know, it is, without, for better or worse, shows Fred Hampton as a complete like socialist, and it doesn't shy away from that stuff, which is a really good move, I think, to, you know, no matter what your politics are. I think that the performances are incredible. I thought I really enjoyed how much I thought that Jesse Plemons' character is a little bit more nuanced than I thought he would be. I thought he was just going to be a very scary, like a compelling but very scary evil.
Yeah, his character was
FBI
interesting the way
agent.
he ended up, though, because there's the moment where J. Edgar Hoover, who's disgusting in this film, and I haven't seen J. Edgar, the Clint Eastwood film starring Leonardo DiCaprio, but I can't imagine it paints him as negatively as this, especially when you got Clint Eastwood directing it. But there's the scene where he's like, oh, you've got a daughter, right? And like, yeah, she's like 8 months old or something like that. And Hoover says, well, how are you going to feel when she brings home a black man? And he's like, what? She's an infant. What are you talking about? And he's like, just saying. And you get the sense that Jesse Plemons is like rethinking his life, essentially, just being like, oh my God, why am I working for this monster? But then he doesn't have the and I guess maybe it would be too Hollywood to then have the moment where he's like, actually, I'm going to fight for you know, civil rights kind of thing. But then it's I think you see that has that moral quandary, maybe that's kind of just a more realistic thing to
he ultimately becomes quite the antagonistic force. But I think laying the groundwork earlier in the film presents it as a man with questions who faces an ultimatum where he ultimately sides with the wrong choice. But the thing, do you know Roy Mitchell, I think his name was Jesse Plemons' character's name? when this movie finished, he doesn't get a placard at the end saying what happened to him, and I was like, he won't be a real person, like he will be a amalgamation of several different FBI agents, I bet, because Chernobyl has a similar thing with the main female character in it, that she's like an amalgamation of several different characters. But he is a real person. I looked him up. He's a real FBI agent, which shocked me because the character screams written for the ease of the story. But no, he's a real person. I guess he just didn't do anything that amazing afterward. But I think that the reason why he's so good, and the reason maybe why Lakeith Stanfield is also nominated, because like Daniel Kaluuya is the obvious
he's the
powerhouse, right? But what I like about, and we sort of touched on it with Jesse Plemons, but with Lakeith Stanfield in here, it's a role where you see someone change their mind about something without them ever vocalizing that, without them ever seemingly change like a lot of their behavior. You see, you see Bill O'Neill, who's Lakeith's character, you see him like come around to the ideologies and to go from a sort of politically
you can see him stop pretending to play along and start
exactly. And for that reason I was like, this is an Oscar-worthy performance. I think it's. I was expecting, and this is a you can't change what really happened problem, but like in terms of a story, I was kind of expecting more of a closure to Lakeith's character, but the film goes into this as in real life he continued to be an informant for the FBI, and then after his one interview was played on a documentary, he killed himself, which is
that night.
Horrible. Exactly. How creepy is that? That's insane. And
do you
like
reckon
you watch
it was connected?
Yeah, I do actually.
So.
Yeah,
because also.
And you watch.
He's like, I was that on tonight.
They show a clip of the actual interview with him, which was the one interview he ever did, where he basically says like, "Say what you want about me, but I was out there in the streets," and it's this tragically desperate thing to say for someone in his position, and I'm not at all surprised he killed himself that night, because that's but I guess for me, what I find truly tragic, and this is maybe the point of the film, is like Lakeith Stanfield's not really ever given a way out either. So it's not like he made a decision to be an informant. It's more he was like, you either go to prison or you be an informant. And maybe the comment of the film is actually on the larger, I mean, of course it is, on the larger problem with systemic racism and the law enforcement than it is with his character. Like, he's a victim as well, I guess.
It was funny that you mentioned that. I think you mentioned this on the Most Disappointing podcast, but you said that Trial of the Chicago 7's like might be the most anti-cop movie you've ever seen, and it's like, if not more than that,
I think this is slightly more anti-cop.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
I don't know if I necessarily feel comfortable sharing this, but definitely this movie made me want to beat up pigs more than Trial of the Chicago 7.
Well, it's an inherently more violent and like aggressive movie.
Yeah.
And like, I loved this movie. For the record, I loved this movie. I just, if we're doing this thing where we're comparing it to the other movies. So,
all right. Any final thoughts about Judas and the Black Messiah?
There are definitely some Oscar scenes in this movie.
Yeah.
And they're so good. Oh my god.
Good. The what plays on the clip when they say Daniel Kaluuya presumably will be the like, I am a revolutionary, because that's just like, it's the most bombastic scene in the film. So that is Judas and the Black Messiah, and just one film left to talk about. 3, 2, 1. Promising Young Woman. So Promising Young Woman is directed by Emerald Fennell, who you might recognize as being one of the head writers of Killing Eve. She was the showrunner for season 2, which is the show's had a different showrunner for each season. That's like its thing. It's not just like, oh my god, they're all getting fired.
Do you reckon they intended that to be its thing, or they like, because Phoebe Waller-Bridge presumably left after season 1, and then maybe this one left after season 2, and they're like, let's just make it a thing.
Well, I feel like it could be one of those things where Phoebe Waller-Bridge is like, you're welcome to make more, but I'm only doing one season. And then Emerald Fennell would have come in and been like, Well, I'll do the same then.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, we're not here to talk about to talk about
it's a weird thing to make your thing, because I don't know if the average watcher of Killing Eve would know what a showrunner is.
Yeah, I have had people say that they liked the first season, but the writing wasn't as good on the second season.
I would parrot that.
That's showrunning, baby.
Yeah. So no, Promising Young Woman.
Can we just do a little content warning?
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
Because this is a movie that's basically impossible to talk about without discussing things like suicide and sexual assault.
Yeah.
This is, and I'm not just being like, oh, let's talk about this one hairy scene. Like the movie is one of them. I would say one of the most triggering movies. I would assume. All three of us are lucky enough to not be people who I think are affected by seeing troubling material in a way that others are.
Yeah.
But if I were one of those people, I can't imagine watching. I made the mistake of just putting this on with a room full of people this week, and
at a party.
You didn't even know them,
and I knew them, and I sort of knew where their thresholds were, but I didn't actually know how truly harrowing this film is. And afterwards, I had to be like, "Hey, everyone, I'm sorry, I wasn't more clear with how." Intense this movie is. So we will be discussing these things just because it's impossible to discuss it without saying all the stuff.
Yeah, so it's the story of this friend, this woman who is avenging the death of her friend after she was raped at a med school party, and it was covered up because boys will be boys. Like that's the kind of attitude the school took, and you're going to ruin these men's career if you're going to go down this path. And then so now what Cassie does is she goes to bars, pretends to get completely wasted, blackout drunk, then essentially luring guys into taking her home, and then is like when they start going on, she's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like, and she calls them out.
Instantly sobers up and
and reveals
from their perspective
that she's not drunk at all,
and
then she starts to get into a relationship with a guy played by Bo Burnham, and a very interesting casting. We'll talk about the casting a bit in a sec. But yeah, and it's essentially she's got this list of people that she's has to go around and right the wrong that they did to her friend.
It's My Name is Earl.
Yeah.
But a more aggressive version, or the opposite of My Name is Earl.
Yeah, and she hasn't won $1 million.
No.
Yeah. And her name actually isn't Earl as well. It's Cassie.
You wanted to separate these spoilers from the...
Yeah, because
I'll let you
Promising Young Woman is like... If you watch this film, you know what I mean. Is that like you can't discuss this, or like the biggest kind of talking point, or one of the biggest talking points, is the ending of the film. So we're gonna talk about everything else, and then I'm gonna give you like a 5-minute window. I'm going to set a timer. We'll talk for 5 minutes about the ending. If you haven't seen the film and you don't want to be spoiled, and this is like, this is actually like legitimate. It will ruin the film for you if you know the spoiler kind of thing. Like this isn't like, oh yeah, it's about the assassination of Fred Hampton. It's like, no, this film goes in an unexpected direction, and you're better off not knowing it. So we'll give you a warning when that's going to happen. We'll do spoilers free up until then, and then there'll be a little window where just if you've seen it or if you don't mind being spoiled, then you can join on that little fun conversation.
Come in, we'll spoil you like your grandma.
So yeah, this is a super interesting film. I remember seeing the trailer for this a long time ago, and it just looked like this very quirky, probably never be released in New Zealand kind of thing, and would be 78% on Rotten Tomatoes, but people will be like, no, it's actually pretty cool, because it was just this like quirky revenge thriller.
Do you know when the trailer did come out for this? Because I might be misremembering. I feel like the trailer came out for this in like 2017.
She came up with the idea of the film in 2017,
right?
And then she shot the trailer, and then they made the movie.
It was a long time ago, though. As my point.
Its world premiere was January 25th, 2020, and it was going to be released on April 17th, 2020. So we would have seen the trailer around January last year.
Oh wow!
Right.
And then eventually came out over Christmas. So this is. yeah, like it's one of those kind of films, but it's like, yeah, it's a quirky revenge. There's elements of comedy in there, but in terms of how well it nailed what it set out to do, it did.
Yeah.
You know, like this is a perfect film if you look at it through that margin,
and then some as well. Like it's a quirky film, but in some ways that makes it sound like it's going to be like kind of a safe indie movie. But it's not even that really. Like tonally, it shifts so like vastly throughout the whole film that it's like, man, she's really swinging for the fences here. Like it's not even, like it's a quirky film, but it's like it's actually a quirky film, not like oh, it's so quirky.
Yeah. And it's a really fresh, interesting directorial voice. Emerald Fennell, who also appears in the film as the host of the Blowjob Lips makeup tutorial video. It's the director of the film.
Wow.
She's also an actress. She is an actress as well. She's been in like The Crown and a few other
She
things.
also has a YouTube YouTube channel that's
But yeah, what do you think of the film, AJ?
This is a film where a lot of the issues it is discussing and a lot of the subject matter of it is very, what's the right word here? Like, relevant to cult popture, or at least me. Like, I feel like the issues this movie tackles are issues that we have tackled on the podcast, and issues that, I don't want to speak for you, Richard, but for me, like, I've walked the walk of a lot of the let me say everything before I'm interrupted.
I know you're saying that you like the whole nice guy shtick, right?
So, cards on the table. If you knew me in high school, you would describe me as a nice guy in the pejorative sense, right? I don't think I was. I wasn't as bad as the guys in this, and I never, for the record, I've never done anything of the ilk of the male characters in this movie. But it was still like I related to the idea of being an overlooked nice dude that the girls didn't care about, and I had a fedora, the whole shebang. That was me in high school. And the last 10 years of my life have been me going on a journey where basically I reached a fork in the road where I could either become an incel or become a feminist, and thank God I became a feminist, right? So this felt like a very pointed movie to me.
Yeah.
And for that reason, there was some stuff I really loved about it. There was some stuff I really struggled with, it was very confronting. And there was some stuff that I didn't know if I was going to bring this up, but I feel like I've laid the foundation now. And you and I talked about this together, Richard, off pod. And so, if we can approach this with grace, I think we can talk about this, because I was nervous to bring this up.
Not a chance.
Lest it look like I don't understand the film.
Yeah. Aaron, do you want to go get your girlfriend Grace so we can approach the subject with her?
Oh, yeah.
One of the small criticisms I had with the script of this film, I think, was that a lot of it has a lot of buzzwords in it, where like Christopher Mintz-Plass's character, after he's been caught out trying to have sex with Cassie while she's drunk, he says things like, "I'm a nice guy," and at one point she's getting catcalled, and they're like, "Oh, learn how to take a compliment, you bitch," and it's all these things that I was like, the spirit of these things is real, but it's strange seeing a movie where like the immediate straw man-esque anecdotal phrases are the ones that are used. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, you get the impression that I guess if I were to read the script, I would say like Christopher Mintz-Plasse should say, "I'm a nice guy," without saying the words exactly. And so in that sense, I felt it was maybe a touch on the nose with the way it presented these very real and very valid problems in masculine culture. It was just like, I did wonder, did it need to be a little more subtle, because it almost feels like these things are such obvious don't say that in the situation things, that it's like,
Yeah.
Exactly. So say what you said to me when I said this to
okay,
you.
and now we kind of have to get into spoiler territory. If you want to hear my sick fucking rebuttal, you're gonna have to watch the film or not worry about spoilers.
I want to emphasize that this was a very open and welcoming conversation. And
it was. This was us workshopping these thoughts together. So I'm going to put up a timer. I'm going to do longer than 5 minutes. Actually, I think. Give us 7 minutes, and I will. So from when I say now, look at where you are in the podcast and skip ahead 7 minutes, and then the timer will finish. So I'm gonna count down so I don't miss it. All right, 7 minutes and 0 seconds, starting now. Okay, so what I said to that is because it's after getting this nice, quite a cute, nice romantic story between her and Bo Burnham's character.
I thought you were going to say message from AJ, and I was like, what?
Is that it's then revealed that he was at the party where her friend was raped, and because she sees a video of it. You don't see the video, but you hear the audio and you hear Bo Burnham's distinct voice being like, oh my God, guys, this is so fucked up. Like, but not stopping it kind of thing. And then realizing like, fuck, he's one of the guys as well. Like he's one of the assholes. It then recontextualizes everything else he's done in the film. And because up until this point, you've seen like, oh, okay, they're just doing very surface level stuff. It's just, I'm a nice guy, learn to take a compliment, that kind of thing. It's then going like, wow, actually, okay, like the first time we see Bo Burnham, he asks her out, she says no, he comes back the next day and he says, oh, I'm not taking no for an answer. And you see that as like a cute thing. But then with the context of like, oh, he's actually a fucking creep, is like, yeah. And so because it's blasting you with all the in your face stuff the whole time, the subtle stuff is able to go under and then have that like jaw-dropping moment where it's all recontextualized. Now, as for jaw-dropping moments in the film, if you still haven't had the chance and you don't want to be spoiled, like turn this off now. So the film culminates and Cassie is now getting revenge on like the main perpetrator. And it's his bachelor party. She dresses up as a stripper and goes there and is like, I'm here to be. So she takes him upstairs, handcuffs him to the bed, and then essentially says, you know, this is who I am. This is what I'm here to do. And then
she's going to carve her name, her friend's name into his body.
Yeah. And he freaks out and he grabs a pillow, sticks over her face, puts his knee on her, and smothers her in a very, very long scene that is just a single shot that moves slightly closer in the whole time, and smothers her to death. And that's it. And Cassie's dead. And this was like genuinely like jaw hit the floor. This is one of the most shocking things I've ever seen in a film.
It's stunning. It is. I was stunned.
It's one of the boldest choices I've ever seen in a film. Yeah, and you're like, no. Like she's struggling, and then she stops moving. You're like, no.
She's going to come back to life.
And then he's freaking out. She's still not moving. And then the next morning, Schmidt from New Girl.
I want to talk about that.
So do I, and that's why I wanted to talk about in spoilers. Yeah. But Max Greenfield comes as the best friend. Is like, oh yeah, you're doing this killed the stripper bit, and then it's like, no, actually she is dead. There is a dead woman in this bed, and then they burn her body, and it's like. And at this point, I'm still like, no.
Yeah, no, it's as her body's burning, where I was like, damn, she really is dead.
And do you know what? That was the original end of the film.
Really?
Yeah,
it feels like it. It feels like it. And if I may talk about Max Greenfield as Greenfield.
Yeah. I just want to quickly say, if you've gotten this far and you haven't seen the movie, but you want to, like, it does end that she had put this plan in place to get everyone their comeuppance. And which is like activated with her death because she knew she was going to die. Or she knew there was a chance anyway. But yeah, let's talk about the casting of this film because it's my favorite thing about the film.
So I want to talk about Max Greenfield specifically, but like Bo Burnham's really good casting because a lot of people like us probably see a bit of themselves in Bo Burnham, and that's the point, you know. But Max Greenfield, what I thought was so fucking brazen about the direction and why it's such a commanding scene, in that after she dies, is that Max Greenfield comes in And he's been in the movie a little bit, but this is where it's like, oh, this is why you cast recognizable actor Matt Greenfield in this role. Is for 5 minutes, it becomes a early 2000s frat comedy.
Yeah.
And to the point where it's like, this is gonna piss off some people. That like, if this wasn't directed by a woman, you'd be like, Jesus Christ, dude, do not put this in the film. You know, and it becomes a different movie very briefly. And I think the point of that, the reason why it does that, is because it's spent this whole movie highlighting poisonous, toxic masculinity, and now it goes, and it's in your fucking pop culture too. It's in the movies you grew up with. It's in these dumb comedies which dominated Hollywood for so long, as there are comedies where something like this happens. And it oh my fucking God, it was so confronting to be like, look how silly this is, because the performances from an acting perspective, and Aaron, perhaps you could validate me on this as our resident actor, it is directed and played for laughs, right? Like their reaction, like even though he's just the other character's just killed the main character, and it's very harrowing, all of a sudden he becomes like, oh my God, dude, I fucking killed the stripper, and it's played for laughs. It's like the language of the scene is one of comedy, and it's to critique not just toxic masculinity, but toxic masculine cinema, which is so fucking awesome.
Yeah. But I think I don't know if it's fair necessarily to say that this is the one kind of genre shift in the movie, because there's
it turns into a rom-com for a little bit.
Like the middle section is definitely a rom-com.
When they're in the pharmacy singing "Stars Are Blind" by Paris Hilton, that's an iconic rom-com scene. Right there.
And which again, you know, you're right. It's used in order to highlight, you know, the dangerous nature
that life isn't like the movies.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, like these tropes are in a way kind of dangerous, because it's like, you know, rom-com's kind of ideal is that, you know, you'll either change a gruff guy to be a nice guy, or like you'll find a nice guy who will, you know, that should be your end point in life. But like, you know, that's not really how life should be. And also like she questions whether these nice people actually exist, or like what is niceness.
Yeah.
One thing
I do. We are approaching the end of the 7 minutes. I'm going to give us another 5, but we have to wait to the 7 minute mark so we can tell people to give us another little bit of time. So 10, 9, 8.
Also, 7. I don't know if you wanted to know this, guys, but Bo Burnham is currently 30 and Carey Mulligan is 35. So you said before,
cool.
Aaron.
That's 7 minutes.
She's...
Cancel. Oh, fuck off. Okay. If you're joining us because you didn't want to be spoiled, our spoiler discussion got a bit more in depth than we kind of thought. Give us another 5 minutes. So I'm gonna say 5 minutes. We might need more. Very funny, but starting 3, 2. Come back in 5 minutes. Starting from 3, 2, 1. Now. Yeah.
So you said before, Aaron, that you thought Carey Mulligan was way older.
Yeah, man.
She's only 5 years older. I think she just looks like that. I think she has that kind of face.
Yeah. Is she 35? I thought she was 37.
35.
A cursory Google search.
Yeah. So,
so old, man.
So old.
Nah, I don't know. There was something about seeing her, and it's probably intentional.
It's like I'd believe that, you know, she would appear older than she is due to, like, you know, the emotional stress that she's gone through.
Yeah.
But anyway, just on what you mentioned about Max Greenfield specifically, the casting overall, like every fucking male character in this film is played by some lovable goofball. And it sells the message so much more. Like, so first guy she takes home is Adam Brody from the OC, who's just Seth from the OC. Harmless, couldn't hurt a fly. Then she brings home McLovin, you know, and then, you know, ends up kind of falling in love with Bo Burnham, the comedian, and then goes to the final boss, and Schmidt from New Girl opens the door, and then we find out, like, oh, the guy she's been going to kill this whole time is Piz from Veronica Mars, and it's like literally every single person in this film is like a lovable goofball from TV, and it's such fantastic casting because you're disarmed by every single man you see on screen.
The only thing I say about the Bo Burnham casting is when I first saw it, because the only thing I know of Bo Burnham other than his like film,
That's great.
Eighth Grade, which is a fantastic film, but I've only ever seen like clips of him, and his comedy is kind of him being an asshole, sort
like
of.
edgy.
Yeah. So like when I saw it, I was like, this is an interesting casting. Isn't he most renowned for being an asshole? And then he was like a nice guy. And I was like, oh, okay, interesting. Like, you know, it's a bit of a stretch as an actor. He wants to show his chops. And then like turns out he's like an asshole. So I guess, you know.
And even still, like, it's using everything you know to play with your expectations.
Yeah.
And the fact that it bounces around like that is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing about Bo Burnham, though, is that his entire shtick is like, playing the arsehole is part of the shtick, meaning like it is clear from his material that he's making fun of someone.
Yeah.
Right?
That he
like,
doesn't
so
actually
it's,
believe that. And
yeah.
And you're very vulnerable and like his comedy is all like, I'm putting my actual self out there. But yeah, and then you realize when the pin drops and you realize, like I said, those moments that are recontextualized that are like, you know, and like as a guy, especially, and you know, if this was just a straight rom-com, you'd be like, oh, he's not taking no for an answer. That's so cute. But then like, this is the kind of shit that girls put up with all the time and actually find fucking creepy. And like, you know, not taking no for an answer in that context, it's like, oh, you know, he's so charming. But then where else won't you take no for an answer? And like, it's all those kind of implications. And then, you know, even when he takes her for a walk, they go for an evening stroll, and he's like, oh, hey, we're right outside my apartment. Do you want to come up? And it's like, and she freaks out, and he was like, oh, you know, I thought that was a good move, kind of thing. And yeah, again, that's another thing that's like, that's actually a pretty creepy thing to do.
Yeah. Even at the time, though, and during that scene, I was like, that was not cool, man. Yeah. That was uncool.
Yeah. And then he does have the moment when she essentially, you know, confronts him and says, I know all the shit. Like, I know you were there. I know you're a creep. And he's just like, you're a fucking bitch. Like, he like snaps at her, and he I think he talks down about her not being a doctor or something like that. Yeah. And he calls her a bitch, and it's like, you're actually just pathetic, man. Like, yeah.
Once the like rug has been pulled underneath his like sense of self and like security of self, suddenly you see who this person is. Can I say, when I was watching the movie, I was like, because in some ways, Carey Mulligan's character represents kind of the spirit of vengeance, right? And I was like, oh man, this can't end well. And then like as the movie kept going along, I was like, man, she's really painting herself into the corner. Like, you know, she's like the spirit of vengeance, like that,
Ghost Rider.
Yeah, that like, like, and the nature of that is like an inevitably tragic ending. Yeah. So like, there's kind of that thing in my head that's like, oh, it's going to go badly, and then it does go badly. And you're like, when I saw the scene of her being killed, I was still like my jaw on the floor, and I was like, man, she's just painted herself into a corner. How does
We've reached.
We're going to need another minute, everyone.
All right, another. I'm going to give us 3 minutes this time because I also have one more thing on this. Okay, so 3 more minutes, starting from 3, 2, 1. Continue.
Yeah, the writing kind of paints itself into this corner, and it's like, man, how they get out of this one? They basically fulfilled the arc of a classic tragedy, and then the fifth act comes in, and it's like, man, you really painted yourself out of that corner, and it's so good. But also,
the idea of painting yourself out of a corner just doesn't work. It's like you're just walking on wet paint at that point.
Yeah, but you're painting over the paint you just walked on.
I don't know how she does it. All right, I don't know the mechanics. But also, one thought that I did have, and it was kind of bouncing off what you said, is that like, I always thought of her as like a spirit of vengeance. Like she's taking these guys out to like, you know, enact some form of vengeance or like teach them a lesson, right? But it seems like a kind of, I don't want to say negative thing, but it's like an act of vengeance. Yeah. But like thinking about it, maybe what she's actually doing is like proving to these people that their lives are a lie and how they think of themselves as nice guys is actually a lie, and giving them an opportunity at that point to reassess their life. Yeah. So in some ways it's like, yeah, it's an act of vengeance, but it's also kind of an act of, I don't want to say service because that's kind of icky, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's like a public service. It's trying to, like, in an ideal world, it's like this guy would now go off into the world with like a new outlook, and she's falling on that sword and being like, I'll be the woman in this situation so that I'm the last one.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But you just as the timer wraps up, I do want to say as well that like this is the right kind of divisive, I think.
Yeah.
This is like, if you said you hated this film because the ending, it's like, yeah, totally. Tell me why. You know, like
Yeah.
I would love to have debates with people. Like, I'm not even sure I love the fact that she dies. You know,
Yeah.
I
But
agree.
it
and then
makes you think.
I rated it accordingly and
Yeah.
ranked it with the other Oscar movies accordingly because of how uncomfortable I am with that decision.
Yeah, like genuine, like I said, like it's actually one of the boldest storytelling decisions I've ever seen, but one that I can't say is the wrong decision. You know, which is like killing Bryan Cranston in Godzilla. It's like, yeah, you actually made the wrong decision in that case. This one, it's like, yeah, like it's
The
yeah.
timer counts out, and it's like the person checks back in who skipped all this and hears Bryan Cranston dying in Godzilla. And you're like, oh, fuck!
You didn't warn me about other spoilers for other movies.
All right, so we've got 20 seconds before non-spoilers. Any
Oh, yes.
any spoilers you want to yell out?
Can I? You know how we criticized season 2 of Killing
yeah,
Eve? One thing that I didn't like about it was less surprising than the first season of Killing Eve, but the ending to this movie is like so incredibly surprising.
It's more surprising than all of Killing Eve.
Yeah.
All right, everybody,
that's
welcome back.
the end of our discussion about Promising Young Woman. If you don't have time to watch it and you've skipped ahead, I just spoil it for you.
Like almost 15 minutes at this point.
Yeah. If you're at your Oscar party, you don't have a chance to watch it, and you didn't listen to our discussion, just say, poor that ending.
Say, I don't really know how to feel about it.
Yeah. And then be like, yeah, what did you think? Without, like, you know, in case there's other people around that haven't seen it, without spoiling it, what did you make of it?
What did you make of the first 4/5 of the movie? That I've definitely seen.
So that is that's our cheat sheet to the Oscars. What we've always done, and maybe we're not going to do this on pod, but I might do it in privately, is we look at the odds and like the and often place bets. I haven't set it up to place any bets, but I can talk about like what the actual odds are. So just going through like what we've got in the way of like sure things, and ones that are like really close. So original song's an interesting one. I was super stoked. Original song, Husavik from Eurovision Song Contest, Song of Ice and Fire, Ice and Fire Saga, whatever it's called. Did you watch this, Aaron?
Nah.
Like, it's not bad. AJ will tell you it is terrible. It's terrible, but it's not.
I think it's as bad as everyone said it wasn't.
Nah,
actually,
it's fucking
as bad
sick,
as-
man. It's not bad, but the music in it, especially the final song, is like beautiful. I'm so glad it got nominated for an Oscar. However, this will almost 100% likely go to Speak Now from One Night in Miami, which I watched the other night. It's actually a very good film. The song is by Leslie Odom Jr., who for Aaron Burr from Hamilton, who's also nominated for his performance as Sam Cooke in the film. But this will put him just an Emmy away from having an EGOT as well. And he's been nominated for a couple of Emmys, so I would say that's not very far away from him in his future. What else have we got? Production design will go to Mank. Might be Mank's only Academy Award. They made Old Hollywood. Film editing and sound, which is now just Best Sound, are both looking like they're going to go to Sound of Metal, which is cool. Best Sound for Sound of Metal is like, bet as much money as you want on it. Score, Soul edging out Mank, but they're the same people. It's Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross did them for both. All right, let's get to some of the more interesting ones. Nomadland, you mentioned cinematography. That is the favorite for cinematography. Animated feature film is Soul, obviously. Original screenplay is an interesting one. The two screenplay awards. So, original screenplay, you've got Judas and the Black Messiah, Minari, Sound and Metal, Trial of the Chicago 7, and Promising Young Woman. Chicago 7 is an interesting one because it's based on a real event, but he's not adapting a specific, like a book that was already written about it. Which is one of these weird, like, adapted based on true stories are weird. But this is actually Promising Young Woman is probably the favorite for this.
Wow.
Which is like cool. I mean, Get Out won it. Jojo Rabbit won adapted, but it's like, yeah, cool. Give it to these quirky, like, just very like bold, interesting kind of voices.
Yeah,
and it's especially these kind of ones where it's like to get an Academy Award that early in your career is like, yeah, like it puts you on the map. And then Nomadland probably for adapted, unfortunately beating out Borat, subsequent movie film.
no.
As I mentioned, Chloe Zhao is a lock for director. The four.
Wait, sorry, go back. So Borat subsequent movie film is like the second most likely.
Third, according to the official odds, after The Father and Nomadland.
Okay. Let's get, like, I'll still take that.
Okay, so the four acting categories that we have something very interesting this year. So Daniel Kaluuya, as I said, is it's pretty much locked for supporting actor. Chadwick Boseman for lead actor. There is a very small possibility for a Hopkins upset that he could take it out, but he's had his moment. Chadwick Boseman is never going to get another chance. And it's a great performance, and there's a tragedy to his performance that it's the whole film is about his character is about essentially the whole point of his character is he's got his whole life ahead of him and he's going to make something of himself, kind of thing. So it's an inherently, like, quite a heartbreaking film to watch now.
Isn't it interesting that Daniel Kaluuya is nominated for Best Supporting Actor and Chadwick Boseman is being nominated for Best Lead Actor, when I feel like most people would switch them those categories around.
But yeah, putting Boseman in, I actually think that it's because Boseman was put forward as lead. They said, nah, fuck, we're not going up against that. Put both Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith Stanfield in supporting, because Lakeith in supporting is like, like he's definitely the lead. But if he was supporting, it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess then Fred Hampton's the lead. But no, they're both supporting. But that has happened before. Like the favorite.
It is. The favorite. It is Judas and the Black Messiah. So if Judas and the Black Messiah are the supporting leads, who's the lead?
Jesse Plemons
and
the
Jade
white guy.
Good, Martin.
It turns out that the people who decide these nominations just did not understand.
They were a real pro cop, like pro FBI.
Yeah, from the FBI's story.
So then, supporting actress. This has actually changed since I've looked at it. In the last, because there's been the BAFTAs since I last looked. So Maria Bakalova from Borat subsequent movie film was the favorite, but she's now fallen behind Yeon Yo-jong from Minari because she won the BAFTA.
Boo! I have a video essay that is relying on Maria Bakalova winning Best Supporting Oscar.
But
it's a lot of work.
And also, I think she deserves it, frankly. And I think
Minari. I mean, like again, it's the kind of thing like Maria Bakalova is like, this is it's an incredible performance, and it would be so good to recognize that kind of performance. But
it would be cool to have a
so good.
They don't tend to reward comedies that much, do they?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Give us Maria Bakalova. You don't have to give comedy anything else for 5 years. It's such an important win for a comedy, I think.
But there
especially because it's such a specific kind of performance.
So, like, let's say Yeon Yo-jong is going to win for Minari. Then we have potentially a very important, potentially more important moment in Oscar history. So the two, it's almost neck and neck for Best Actress between Carey Mulligan and Viola Davis for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Carey Mulligan isn't in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, so like Carey Mulligan for Promising Young Woman, Viola Davis for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. If Viola Davis wins, then potentially all four actors would be people of color, which would be the first time that's ever happened.
Wow.
Nice.
How do you feel now, AJ?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Why does this always happen on this podcast? having to defend this stance, so let's just establish this is your position? Great. Okay, well, now you're racist.
Here's why it's a disgusting position to have.
Yeah, you freak.
But no, there is the potential that I think Carey Mulligan's probably, I think she's might have won more leading up to awards season, but Viola Davis is still very much in contention. But yeah, I mean that would be a cool thing. But then the people will say like, oh yeah, it's only because no films came out in 2020. Like,
oh, I hope they don't. Though.
Yeah, I wonder how much that's going to come up at the Oscars. Like, whatever wins, people are like, yeah, well, nothing came out. Like,
yeah,
it's like no, this is actually an incredible group of films you've got.
It is actually, yeah.
And of course, Nomadland is the favorite to win Best Picture. But one non-award, but we look at the odds every year, is who will be the last person to appear in the In Memoriam section.
Oh my god, such a grim.
Sorry, wait, did we go through Best Director? Sorry,
Best Director's closed. Yeah, easy. No point.
Okay.
No point discussing it. Yeah, so obviously Chadwick Boseman's the favorite. This usually has quite higher odds, but he's at 1.75 odds, which is very low. But close behind him, you've got Sean Connery, Christopher Plummer. Yeah, who do you guys reckon will be the last person to appear?
Gotta be Chadwick Boseman, right?
Was Heath Ledger the last in the year that he won?
Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting one. Actually, because he would have been, because he died in like January, didn't he? Or February? Like he might have died before.
You mean like he would have made the
Oscars
In Memoriam the year before?
But he won the Oscar.
Yeah, but like a year after he had died. Let me have a look at this. Because he died in 2008, correct?
Yes. Actually, I do remember him winning his Oscar quite a while
of January
after.
Yeah. So he died 22nd of January 2008. I only remember it was in January because I remember I was at a screening of Cloverfield when he died, and I remember that came out on 1/18/08 because that was the only information we had about the film for a long time. But anyway, that's more about my history with Cloverfield than anything else. But
Thank you.
but yeah, then he would have been awarded in the 2009 ceremony.
Right.
So he was probably on the In Memoriam in 2008 for films in 2007.
Right.
But yeah, no, interesting. I could see Christopher Plummer being last.
You reckon because of years of service?
Years of service, recent Oscar, or recent nomination for All the Money in the World. Recent-ish one for Beginners. I think it was 2010.
I don't know though. I feel like if Chadwick Boseman wins Best Actor, which he probably will, it seems weird to not like he's going. This sounds really awful to say, but he's in some ways he's going out on top.
Yeah.
But so it would be weird for him not to be given the prestige place. In the In Memoriam.
I could also see them giving it to Sean Connery as well. Like,
yeah, and they used the screenshot of that interview where he says it's okay to beat women.
Like when they're really famous, they get a little clip as well, and it'll be like, "This is okay to hit a woman." with an open fist.
It's such a horrible.
Is that something he actually said?
It's completely unambiguous. It's like the interviewer was like trying to catch him out. Like, you're quoted as saying quite a few years ago that you think it's okay to hit a woman. Do you want to clarify that? Oh yes, I think that's very, very fine. Not with a closed fist, with an open.
He goes. I don't think it's a good thing, but it's more if it merits it.
Oh my god! No.
Yeah. And so we've shit on Sean Connery quite a bit on this podcast for being a shitty human being. And there's a video we have on YouTube that's about Sean Connery being bad at Bond, and after he died, people are like, this didn't age well. And it's like, we didn't become a good actor by dying.
Yeah. He also didn't become a good person.
Yeah. Oh, now that he's dead, sorry, he didn't think it was okay to beat women. What are you saying? How and in what universe are we the bad guys now?
Oh, now that he's dead, okay, that makes the sexism all right. Yeah. There's also other kind of notable ones that you got Ennio Morricone, Jerry Stiller. That'd be a fun one to be last. End on a laugh.
Oh, yeah. That is a tragedy.
I just burst into laughter.
It's just a scene of him playing George's dad in Seinfeld.
Yeah. One of the other ones that's also like really, because most of these are like 50 to 1 or 100 to 1 odds, but only 19 to 1 is Naya Rivera from Glee.
Oh.
It's an interesting one.
Oh, yeah.
Who knows? Yeah, so anyway, I would probably still put my money on Chadwick Boseman, but I don't know. I might put some money on Sean Connery.
And this is us honoring Sean Connery.
Yeah. This is his final legacy. Is like you've got a chance to do one good thing,
and that's making the podcast money.
Make me a little bit of cash. He also, Man Who Would Be King is a very good movie, which also Christopher Plummer is in. But anyway, that's the end of our Oscars cheat sheet. Feel free to parrot these thoughts as your own. Go watch Promising Young Woman, and then you can listen to the. How long was it?
Like 7 plus 5 plus 3, I
15
think.
15 minutes,
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. 15, the extra 15
double
minutes
as
of the
long.
podcast.
Yeah.
The hidden 15 minutes of the podcast.
A promising young 15 minutes.
Mm.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Cult Popture podcast. I would love to know your thoughts. You can email us. I'm going to start with that this week. Ooh. You can email us at cultpopturemedia@gmail.com. Fuck it. Email us and tell us what you think's going to win. Or if you want a more expedient response, you can join our Discord, which there is a link to in the show notes, and just say
we'll
it
probably
there.
have a live discussion thread for the Oscars on the day as well, which will be fun.
Yeah.
But
we're also on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. There are 2 YouTube channels. One is called Cult Popture, where we share video essays, and one is called Cult Popture Again, where we share this podcast, where you might be listening to it. And we also recently shared a little video that Richard edited for our 50 to celebrate making it to 50 Patreon patrons. We made a little video of us playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Duel Monsters, sorry. So check that out on Cult Popture again. And if you want to join our Patreon, of course, there is also patreon.com/Cult Popture. Throw us some dosh. Help us fund our lives. Help
us throw more money at Sean Connery.
Take a punt.
Other than that, stay tuned for the post-credit scene after this music stops. Mm-hmm. Aaron, was lovely to have you on the show. See you. I know you'll be back on our post-mortem.
Next week we're going to be doing... What is it? MVP, the franchise, which will come out the day of the Oscars. And then
to celebrate
a week later, to commemorate its snub from the 2001 Oscars, or 2000 whenever it came out, the film that was MVP, a most valuable primate. It's about an ice hockey playing.
We'll get to it.
But anyway, so then a week later we'll be with like a full Oscars debrief where we'll kind of talk about because the ceremony will be interesting with social distancing. The ceremony is being produced by Steven Soderbergh, and he's making this whole point of like it's going to be cinematic, and they got into trouble for people saying no Zoom acceptance speeches. You have to come to LA. And everyone was like, "Get fucked." And so they've kind of worked around that now, but we can discuss that more in 2 weeks' time. But we tell you what we thought of all the winners and the ceremony. So stick around for the post-credit scene, and we'll see you next time, I guess. Yeah.
See you at the movies. Hello and welcome to the post-credit scene. This is a scene at the end of each episode where if you donate $5 or more over at patreon.com/cultpopture, you get to give us something to talk about in the post-credit scene. And Aaron's still here, which has never happened for a post-credit scene before. But hey, Aaron, you feel free to answer this question, but we do not give you any of the Patreon.
I'm definitely not answering this question.
That's what I mean. You don't need to feel obligated. So, Richard, I'm speaking to you now. As you promised us at the end of the post-credit scene last week, this post-credit scene is from Jensen, and he asks, what moment in the podcast are you most proud of?
All right. Well, there was a moment, I can't remember how long ago it was now, but where I said something and AJ attempted to correct me, and then I was able to clarify what I had said, what my intention was, and it all checked out. And AJ said to me, "Fuck, you narrowly missed being wrong," and that was my favorite. It was actually the post-credit scene from last week, but I loved that. That was such a special moment for me.
Well, I'm glad I could give you that.
It's kind of my thing that I like being right.
Being right.
And so to be told that I narrowly avoid being wrong was so funny to me.
Because to reiterate, it's not that the way you worded your original statement, which I don't remember what it was ambiguous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not like I misheard you. Your word choice made it possible to misinterpret what you were saying. Yeah. And I was not vindictively just correcting you, and you were like, no, I meant this, and you totally did mean that. I absolutely believe you because of the way that you worded it.
That's the important distinction, is that, like, because you said it always checks out.
Yeah, it's never a case of you backtracking and being like, oh, no, I changed my mind. You never change your mind. You just always are correct. You just maybe sometimes don't word things in the best ways.
Yeah. I narrowly avoid being. It's like recently, Luke from who's listening to this, told Dan, who's also a fan of the podcast, that he was bashfully incompetent. And it's like, and he's trying to say, like, no, I don't think that you were being malicious when you ignored me or something like that. It was like, no, you're being bashfully incompetent, which is a very, very cute thing to call someone.
And this is your proudest moment of the podcast?
No, I'm getting to that, but I'm just saying that, like, it's a similar kind of thing.
Right.
But we've been asked this question before, and or kind of we did it on the self-indulgent quiz. But I said that my proudest moment of the podcast was our MCU retrospective, because it was 12 hours long. But now we've trumped and it's now it's now the Barbie podcast because it was 18 hours long.
I mean, of course it's Barbie. I'm sure Jensen asked this before the Barbie episode came out. It feels like the answer is very obvious.
I'm not proud of my work.
If I were to say any other moments, I've always felt particularly proud of how we handled discussing American Pie. I think that's quite a fun, and it's a conversation we have. A 4-year-old conversation we have where it would be very easy to say the wrong thing, and listening back to it, I feel we come out very classy in it, which is very cool.
Speaking of American Pie, interviewing Chris Weitz.
Absolutely, interviewing Chris Weitz was awesome. What else is there from the podcast? Aaron, what's your proudest moment from the podcast?
That I was personally involved in, or that you guys were involved in?
Either or.
I don't know. I really liked the Bewitched essay on.
Thanks, man.
I was thinking about this the other day. I was going to message you on the group chat when we were chatting the other day about how much I enjoyed the Bewitched. Yeah, probably. I mean, just from the outside looking in, having heard that the Barbie podcast is 18 hours, I was like, it's got to be the proudest moment.
Yeah.
The proudest you've been of your boys.
Yeah, I was like, man, they really watched all those movies and then sat down for 18 hours to talk about it.
Yeah.
There's actually a 38th one that should be out now, and we need to watch it.
No, it comes out in like a couple of weeks. It's out at the end of the month.
Okay.
I checked yesterday. I was at a play, and I was like, oh my God, did it come out? And I like sneakily took out my phone.
You were at a play?
Yeah. Anyway, that's beside the point.
First
one
I've
other
heard
thing that's actually like the Aaron was here for. That's another one of my favorite, my proudest moments on the podcast is AJ when you said that you had the iconic shot from Blade Runner 2049 with Joy looking down at Ryan Gosling tattooed on your testicles for some reason, and I said, yeah, on your fucking penny farthing nuts. That was. I think about that sometimes and be like, I don't know if I could come up with that now.
Do you know, I was thinking about penny farthing nuts the other day as sort of like...
you messaged me.
That's one of the things where it's like, if our podcast was a little bit more famous, you could buy merch with penny farthing nuts. And I was like, it's a shame none of us will remember what episode that's from, but I guess you do, so cool.
Yeah, I was talking about, I think it was an Oscar. I remember Aaron being there. Oh, I was just like looked at Aaron because I was like, oh, I just heard a phone drop, Aaron. It was mine.
Oh, is that why you're looking at me?
I was like, geez, man, pick up your phone.
I thought you were looking at me as if to confirm that, yes, it was my phone and I am aware it dropped.